Do we need a scotch in front of us?
If you want.
Talk to me. Talk to me if you want. Here we go.
Porsche Files, auto enthusiasts. Welcome to Marc Bixen Live. A video and audio podcast about Porsches, lifestyles, and all things motorsports. Hosted by Porsche expert, owner of Los Angeles' world-renowned Porsche repair shop, Redline Service. So let's kick back, shift gears, and get to the action. Here's your host, Marc Bixen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Marc Bixen Live. Hope everybody enjoyed episode 1. We sure had a good time doing it. We're coming up with lots of great ideas. Tonight, we're going to work on episode 2. So just give you a little backup. Last weekend, we went out and we attended the Porsche Festival of Speed at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. Had a great time there with a bunch of our friends, saw some surprises, some celebrities and things. We had some beautiful weather, of course, Southern California. Sorry for the rest of you, but having a great time. Saw some really cool cars and some fun people. In our last episode, we discussed topics for this time. We're going to talk about dealership service versus independent service tonight. We're, of course, going to get into a couple of questions from our viewers and have our fun Mark's Gripes segment again towards the end. So many of you out there have questions as to who is the best person to service my automobile. Is it best to take it to a dealer? Are independents better? So let me give you our industry feeling on this. Dealerships are wonderful when you have new cars, when you need people who can take care of the latest technology for you. It sometimes takes a little while for that technology to trickle down to the independent shops. But if you're not driving a brand new car, a car under warranty, obviously you would take to the dealer, then we recommend taking your car to an independent who's a specialist. Do some research in your area, talk to some other people, get a feeling for it. What we find is dealerships are always going to have a reputation for being able to get the job done, etc. And no matter what happens, the dealership has a set clientele. Their clientele is going to be whoever buys new cars from them and whoever believes that only the dealer can make the job right. Contrary to that, the independent shop. And what I like to tell people about independents is independent shops, everything is based on your reputation. If you have a bad reputation, you're not going to survive. If you have a good reputation, there's plenty of business out there for everybody. We all make it on our reputations, whereas the dealer has a set reputation that comes along with the franchise that they have. Dealerships do good work. There are a few problems. One of the new things with dealerships that's been going on for some time is dealerships charging over retail for parts. We see this on a regular basis. Regular retail pricing is readily available on the internet. Anybody can check prices on parts. And what we find is that, specifically in areas like Los Angeles, New York, Miami, things like that, the dealerships use something called a matrix program for their pricing. And that will add anywhere from 10% to 100% over retail on fast-moving items, service items, and items that cost under $100. Probably don't like that I'm telling you this, but next time you come away from a dealer, take that receipt home and then go online and look what the real retail prices are for the items that you're buying. We find that most of the dealers will put a 20, 25, 30% increase over retail and then kind of show you a goodwill 5% discount off of that. But they are charging you quite a bit over, and the less expensive the part is, the higher the percentage. I've seen them charge double for small items like nuts, bolts, washers, etc. That's one of the problems at a dealership. You go to an independent, maximum we can charge is retail because people will check on you. You certainly, as a business owner, don't want people to come back at you and go, wait a minute, you charged me $5 over retail on this. Yet for some reason, they don't check the same thing when they go to a dealership. When you go to a dealership, you get your Starbucks, you get your ride home, your courier, and all that kind of stuff. They have a beautiful dealership with beautiful leather couches. Trust me, you're paying for all of that. You are paying for all of that. So if you can get in with a good independent, it's the best way to go for you. How do you find a good independent? Well, in the Porsche world, what I recommend to people is become a member of the Porsche Club, go to some Porsche events, find somebody that has a similar car to yours and say, where do you get that car serviced? Are you happy with the service? Have you had any problems? And just look around and ask around. If you're new to an area, Porsche has different zones. There are 8 different zones in the U.S. You call up a zone rep or your local rep in the Los Angeles area, the Chicago area, the New York area, and say, hey, I'm new to the area. Who are the best independents that you guys have around here to service my car? And you ask a few people, you'll get some real opinions. And this is one of the fun things of going to Cars and Coffee or something like that. Everybody wants to talk cars. Something else that we see also between dealership charges and independent charges are when you have multiple repairs going on one vehicle. For instance, I have a car coming in. We're going to do an oil change on it. We're going to do some brake pads on it. We're going to change the brake fluid. Well, each one of those jobs has its own individual price. It's an hour to do an oil change. It's an hour to do a set of brake pads. It's an hour to change the brake fluid. So the dealer's going to charge you 3 hours for those items. But in actuality, they overlap because each one of those in that hour incorporates getting the car from the lot, putting the car in the lift, putting it up in the air, taking the wheels off, for instance, etc. So at Redline, if we're doing brakes and a brake fluid flush, I'm not going to charge 2 hours for that. People are going to get credit because the wheels are already, you've paid to take the wheels off for the brake job. You shouldn't be paying for that same removal of the wheels to do the brake flush. So this is another area where independents are more flexible, let's say, and very much more honest. The technicians at independents very much work on pride. Technicians at a dealership, nobody who comes to a dealership gets to meet the mechanic. You meet a service advisor, you pay a cashier. Here's your car. Do you have a question about the car? Well, you can ask the service advisor, but the service advisor isn't a mechanic. Very few of them were. And he's not the person that actually worked on your car. And if you ask, can I talk to the mechanic? You're not allowed back there. Insurance regulations don't allow it, or the dealership doesn't want the mechanic to lose the time talking to you. But it's just not a comforting feeling. You go to an independent shop, talk to the guy that worked on your car. It's one of the advantages. There's a camaraderie around independent shops. There's a friendship in independent shops, and it's part of the experience of owning the car that you own. We like to push people towards the independents. Obviously, if you are driving a new car, you have a warranty on your car. Hey, you have an obligation to yourself to use that warranty. Warranties are there for a reason. It's really important that you have confidence in the repair that's done on your vehicle. If you have questions, ask your questions. I always tell customers, when you drop a car off for service, have the service facility save your old parts. You need to ask for this when you drop a car off, and then they're required. So if you have a question about the parts, if you want to see your worn brake pads, if you want to see a leaking water pump, they'll show it to you. At Redline, we always keep all the parts. And then if the client wants to see it, we show it to them. Or after, it just makes it that much easier for us to describe the repair to the customer by showing them the part and pointing out the failure of the part. So very important that you have confidence in your repair shop, that you get a proper estimate. In the state of California, the law requires that we give a proper estimate. And if there is an update, if other items are found, we have to call the customer. We have to give them an updated estimate. So you should never show up at a repair facility expecting to have a $200 to $300 bill, and all of a sudden you get a $2,000 or $3,000 bill. It's first of all, it's illegal in the state of California and many other states, but it's just not fair to you either. Also makes things easier on my side. My client knows he's coming into a $3,000 bill. It's not a problem. If I have to justify the bill to him once he gets here, well, that's going to put both of us in an uncomfortable position. And that's not where you should be when you're dealing with, an investment like your automobile and the service that you put into it. So get a proper estimate, make sure that your service facility keeps you informed, and be interested, show interest, and your repair shop will like you even more as a customer. The customers that come in here and just, yeah, whatever, Mark, here's my credit card. I do the work for those people, but I like people who are enthusiasts. Show a little enthusiasm. Show them you care about what they're doing and their hard work that they're putting in on your vehicle. All these people care about your safety, your family's safety. Car repairs are very important in this world. So, we hope that everybody out there in our profession really puts their heart into the work they do. So that's kind of our feeling. If any of you have any questions on this, please feel free to email us. We can discuss your questions on the next show. So I hope that answered some questions, dealership versus independence. So we have an email. What is the fastest Porsche? That question actually, it's got a couple of different answers. So let's start out with currently. Porsche recently built a car called a GT2 RS in excess of 700 horsepower, and that car has a straight line speed of approximately 211 miles an hour. If you go back a couple of years, Porsche built a supercar called the 918 Spider. The 918 Spider actually had a top speed of 218.4 miles an hour. But if we want to back up and go back in history, in the early 70s, a driver named Marc Bixen drove a Porsche, and most of you Porsche people know what a 917 is. Well, the last version of the 917 was the Can-Am car called the 917-30. Marc Bixen was very famous for driving the Sunoco livery version of this. But they did a closed course test at Talladega Speedway. Now, mind you, this car weighed about 1,500 pounds and had 1,230 horsepower in 1972. And Marc Bixen averaged a one-lap average on the oval at Talladega at 221.16 miles an hour with a top speed in excess of 240. Many of you know also the great stories of the earlier 917s, which the first 917s only had about 450 horsepower, and then progression through the years to the 1,000 horsepower plus turbocharged cars. But even those earlier 917s, such as the Gulf liveried cars, were doing 240 miles an hour on the Mulsanne Straight at Le Mans every single lap for 24 hours straight. So, Porsche can not only build a fast car, they can build a very reliable fast car. So I hope that answers some of your questions as to top speed of Porsche automobiles. So you can go into a dealer and buy a car that'll go 211 miles an hour. That says a little something about the manufacturer, doesn't it? How does Mark feel about the new electric Porsches? Well, right now we have the Porsche Taycan out there. Phenomenal vehicle. If you're an electric car fan, this car has a small company named Tesla a little bit worried because Porsche has taken the great ideas of Tesla and put the Porsche signature on it. So you have the Porsche fit and finish, you have the incredible luxury of a Porsche interior, and you have Porsche performance that is second to none. It is one heck of a car. We have information that the next generation of Boxsters and Caymans are going to be electric cars. So as we all know, the world is moving towards electric. Is Mark a fan? I think we could do 2 or 3 episodes on that. So let's save Mark's feelings on electric cars for a future episode when we have a little bit more time. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here since that was our question, because there's a little something going on in the world that not a lot of people know about. And That is that Porsche is currently working with Siemens, the electronics company, MRI machines, and all that kind of thing. And they're developing a liquid hydrogen fuel. Right now, they're doing all their development work down in Argentina. And the wonderful thing about it is they have developed a way of taking water and separating the molecules of hydrogen and oxygen from the water and turning the hydrogen into a liquid fuel. So, and it's not just a liquid fuel, it's a liquid fuel that they are using in internal combustion engines. So what you have is you have a zero emission, because when it goes through combustion and it combines with oxygen, the hydrogen just puts water out the tailpipe and no other emissions. So you are taking a natural element, water, you're separating the hydrogen and oxygen, you're putting more oxygen into the atmosphere, which helps with our deforestation problems and things like that. And then when the vehicle runs, it's turning it back into water again. So we have zero emissions. Sounds wonderful. It gets even better. It's being developed in a manner that we will be able to use our existing infrastructure. As far as tanker trucks to move it around, they'll just get switched to liquid hydrogen from gasoline. The pumps that are already at the gas stations, they'll be able to modify those so that they can pump the liquid hydrogen in. And all of us that have internal combustion vehicles, some of us are collectors of old cars and things like that, it's looking now like we'll be able to, quote unquote, convert those vehicles to run off of this liquid hydrogen. So there are a lot of problems associated with electric vehicles and the actual production of electricity, which we know is not the cleanest thing out there. So there are problems with that in electric vehicles, lithium-ion batteries, disposal of batteries, and this wonderful new liquid hydrogen fuel that Porsche and Siemens is working on can absolutely take us around this problem and allow us to continue using internal combustion engines, but on a zero emissions basis. So, hey, wow. Once again, Porsche has come out and Porsche has proven that their engineers really can set the world on its toes. So thank you, Porsche. Hope the development goes great. They're actually using this as a fuel in wind turbines and things like that down in Argentina right now. If you guys want to go online, Popular Science, whatever, there are numerous articles about this new technology. So kudos to you guys at Porsche. You're doing a fantastic job saving the planet, and thank you. Mark Scripes. Well, I'll give you Mark Scripes for the day. Mark is not a big fan of helicopters. I think helicopters are just incredible invention. They sure have their place. I have been blessed, and I live pretty close to the California coastline. I will tell you that on a weekend, we have 2 Los Angeles police helicopters, we have the Sheriff's Department helicopter, we have the Coast Guard helicopters, we have military helicopters, and it really doesn't stop. I don't really understand when an aircraft is over the ocean, they don't have a restricted altitude. They're also not restricted as far as how far out in the ocean they are. I don't get it. Why does every news station have to have their own helicopter? Can't we just have an AP helicopter and one helicopter goes up and films it and sends feeds out to all the news channels? Why do we have to be bothered with this on a regular basis? Helicopters are getting better and better. The technology and rotors, quiet rotors and quiet motors and everything, hey, they're fantastic. But do we really need that many? And here in Southern California, we also have private citizens with helicopters. So we have these smaller Robbins helicopters just zipping up and down the coast, giving people tourist sightseeing rides and things like that. And I gotta tell you, it gets annoying. It gets annoying. It's your privacy is being invaded. So, hey, FAA, if you guys are out there watching, can we do a little something? Can you make the flight restrictions maybe a mile out to sea? You can go any altitude you want. I don't get it. I don't get it. So there's my gripe for the week. Helicopters are annoying. Yes, they have a purpose, but there's way too many of them. Come on, let's let people have a little peace and quiet, please. Thank you. Mark's gripe of the week. So thanks for joining us on Marc Bixen Live. I hope I answered some questions for you. Hope I gave you some good, useful information. So everybody, till next time, drive fast and don't crash. Thank you for watching Marc Bixen Live. Don't forget our sponsors, Artify Life at artifylifestyle.com and Redline Service. I know some of you noticed this. Yes, I do like a nice scotch once in a while. If you are wondering, this is a wonderful brew. This is called Abelor Abunda. So as we go along, you'll learn that I'm a bit of a scotch enthusiast also, and we'll throw that into some of our shows too. Everybody have a great time, and keep the sticky side down. Go put some miles on your vehicle.